nothing but faith. There's things far too great that I want to accomplish. I'm hoping 25 hours a day, but something good works out, and I'm just like, dang. Think everything's gonna be okay. Yeah, I'm like, dang. Think you might just know the way. I'm like, dang.
Ever feel like you're failing at being perfect? Well, you are.
Really? So, and today we're talking about why that's a great thing. You know,
Why
is
that's
it?
a good thing.
No, let me tell you something. I am perfect. I already know that. So,
Oh, well.
God said I was born on the seventh day, and now I'm perfect.
Oh, I have so many things I could say about that, but I think I'm going to withhold all of them. But seriously, growing up, and especially in Hollywood, did you ever feel like that pressure to be perfect?
Well, I think the problem is they expect us to be perfect. They want us to be role models, but we're just human beings. I think that if you keep your role models more geared towards your parents and more, than not geared towards some celebrity or some rapper or some singer, I think you have a better chance of doing well and succeeding in life.
So you felt a lot of pressure then?
Oh, yeah.
Because people were looking up to you.
Yeah, they look up to us to be perfect, but we're not perfect people. There's only one perfect being, and that's Christ. That was it.
Yeah. No, I believe that. I like to say I'm a recovering perfectionist. I want to be perfect.
Recovering?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm better than I was.
You are? Oh, my. I'm glad I didn't meet you then.
No, I think it's just wanting things to be, wanting things to be a certain way, but also wanting myself to live up to that highest expectation. I think it's a double-edged sword, right? Because I think my parents instilled in me this drive to want to do things right, to be the best that I could be, that kind of thing. And I think that was really sort of the fertilizer, if you will, that kind of turned me into a perfectionist. But it required, and I think it was good. I think there's good qualities that come from that, like my drive, my determination. They're all centered in that perfectionism. But I had to kind of learn how to tone it back and embrace imperfection.
Yeah, because I think that if you're trying to be perfect, there's going to be so many letdowns you're going to have that you're going to have to deal with, you're going to have to see. So if you just try to do the best you can, and that's where we're talking about setting realistic goals for yourself.
Right.
You don't want to set this, I'm 60 years old and I'm saying, I'm going to be an astronaut and fly to the moon. First of all, that's a unrealistic expectation right now. And I make it go to the moon. That's a realistic expectation. But to become an astronaut and go to the moon, I don't think I have the time for that or the body to actually be able to do that.
Right. So imperfectionism itself is unrealistic.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You can totally drive yourself crazy trying to. And I think where this really shows up too is in planning, right?
Yes.
Like you can plan, but as I've got more experience, like I used to plan a lot of events and things like that, and in those plans, you would have to plan for there to be issues.
Yeah, well, that's why Stanislavski said, when all else fails, improvise. And that's what makes a person great is when they can improvise and still make it great.
Yeah, and don't you think that some of the best things kind of can come from?
Yes.
Can you think, does anything come to mind?
Well, I think sometimes when I look at my life and what I've gone through in my life, if I had been this kid that was a perfect kid, I wouldn't be able to help as many people as I do if I had not gone through what I went through. That's why I think what God does, he takes your imperfections and he turns them into perfections for you to share with other people, to show them that there is a better way.
Right.
It's this direction.
I believe that wholeheartedly. I believe that we come here to this earth and we are given these imperfect physical bodies that have, innate within them, they have like desires and things that we have to learn to kind of subdue and control. And then we also have personality traits. Some are great and some are challenging to manage. And that that's the point of it. Like I kind of think of life here as like, it's what my religion teaches, is that this human experience is kind of like going off to college, if you will, for these eternal spirits, and that this is like a training ground, that this is a place where we're learning and we're growing, and that challenges are inherent in that. And so I had to really embrace that and come to understand that myself as an adult. I was taught it growing up, but I don't think I fully got it till I was an adult. And it's something I'm trying now to teach to my kids too, is that, hey, as you're looking ahead at your life, you know, we've got a couple of kids that are already adults, and then Piper's right there on the cusp of becoming an adult. And she's looking out and planning out her life. And, you know, really with all of the kids that are looking ahead and saying, you know what, you have to also realize that this plan that you're making is to help you, you know, have direction and set goals. But it's not, your life is not going to go according to that plan.
No.
It's definitely not.
It's never going according to how you plan it.
Yeah.
It goes, it goes on life's terms. And that's what people have to understand. Life goes on life's terms. And you have to be willing to accept it when you have these pitfalls or you have these highs, and you have to accept the lows. Yeah,
one of the ways that I really do accept detours especially is I like to think of them as like some divine cosmic protection. Like, do you remember the Adjustment Bureau movie?
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. I mean, I don't really think there's men walking around with hats on that are like opening and closing doors and doing things to like adjust. I don't really think that.
You don't know because you didn't know about them then, so you wouldn't know now.
I know. I don't think it's quite like that. I think we as humans do it for each other.
It could be angels opening doors up and going in other doors. I do believe that angels will keep you out of situations that are not good for you or healthy for you. Yeah. And they will save you in certain situations. I do believe that.
I also think we have a guiding voice inside of us. In my church, we call it the Holy Ghost. Mm-hmm. That there's this and there's also like, we believe there's the Holy Ghost and the light of Christ, that there's inherent within us is an inner voice that's, if we tune ourselves, if we listen to that, we can be guided.
Yes, but there also is the other side of the voice that you have to be careful of listening to.
The bad voice.
Because he's the voice that wants you to do what feels good. And generally, everything that feels good may not be good for you.
Well, not obviously. I mean, especially done into excess, right? Like, it's fine to want to eat, but you shouldn't like eat whatever you want all the time, right? Like you have to exercise limits.
Yes.
And I think that's an inherent, so it's not only Satan, I think, but I think also inherently in our human bodies, the cravings and the appetites that we have are not necessarily the best.
Yeah, it's self too. It's self.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of a long roundabout way of that we're saying that basically perfection was never the point.
You know,
right?
I think for kids, unfortunately, there's so much social media and they see these girls with these amazing bodies. Yeah. And these girls don't have those bodies. They're usually using some kind of, filter or something to make it that way. And everyone's trying to get these bodies and they can't, and it's difficult. Instead of being happy with, whatever size you are, how you look, you got to be happy with that and you got to move forward from that.
Yeah, I will say, okay, so the industry of like modeling and magazines and things like that, they have really come a long way in being more inclusive, right? Mm-hmm. I love like on shopping websites, like, I don't know, just where, different retailers that they'll show the clothes on different body shapes and sizes. I love that. It's so helpful to not just see everything on this like perfect figure. But I think at the same time, like while we've adjusted that, the social media almost like just clambered right in and filled the gap of like making us still feel bad.
Oh yeah.
Because it's just like one big parade of these picture
especially
perfect.
Face filters. A lot of women use so many face filters. They're afraid to let themselves be just who they are.
Yeah. And on my blog, The Paging Supermom, I, for a lot of years, was showing like ideas and projects, and it would always be such a, I got so much joy out of creating those images, making them perfect, being able to style it and, create within just this little frame, that little bit of perfection. I loved that. It was so awesome. But it was also so funny how literally you just get like an inch out of the frame and it was chaos, right? Like everything around the table or the room where I would be styling, it was like a total mess, like an explosion.
That's because you had kids.
Yeah, well, and no, for real, some of those Photoshops, I was managing kids on one hand and like trying to style these pictures, but also there would just be ribbon and scissors and, you know.
And you didn't have Piper to clean it up, so. Thank you, Piper.
No, Piper has OCD. This is actually a hard topic for Piper because she wants perfection.
Yeah.
Have you watched her straighten the counter?
Yes. And she has a hard time.
She will sit there and try to make sure things are all lined up and
that's difficult. I told her, I go, that's difficult in itself because the counter may not even be straight. You don't know if the counter is straight or not, but it may not be, but you're trying to line something up. That's why you have to just accept things in certain ways and just move forward and be happy with how you got it clean, you got it nice, and move forward with that.
Well, and that's actually what Piper's battling is a mental illness. And I feel for her because it is a really big struggle for her. Like she wants to be able to let these things go. Yeah. Like logically, but she just is up against something that's she sees a therapist and there's...
Wait, but do you remember when we did that trick at your house? We put some money on the bottom of a plate and all the kids passed over it. Rocky knew about it though. We wanted to see if Mimi would remember, she didn't pick it up.
You know what? Piper wasn't as bad then. You're right, because she didn't pick it up.
No one picked it up.
Do you know what has made her worse?
What?
The dogs.
The dogs? The dogs are fine.
Yes, I know they are, but I think it's the mess of the dogs has kind of pushed her over the edge. They're just naturally bringing dirt into the house and stuff like that.
Well, everyone brings dirt in the house. If you go outside, that's dirt in the house.
Right, I get it. Not everybody goes out and rolls around in the dirt.
But they're not all outside.
And I'm not meaning this bad on the dogs.
You leave my dogs alone.
No, I'm not saying anything.
PETA, help me out. You hear her?
This is not an attack on the dogs. I'm just saying the dogs and Piper's OCD are not mixing very well. And I think that's because you're right. I can't believe that was... I remember doing that thing with the paper. It was the thing that you saw on like TikTok and Instagram where somebody put like a $20 bill on a plate and left it on the ground to see how long it would take for the kids to pick it up. Yeah. And seriously, if we did that today, Piper would pick it up within an hour.
I don't know. Then we're going to have to try that again.
Should we try it again?
Yeah, we'll try it again.
She would love to get $20. You should totally try it.
I'm sure she would.
Because I thought that was before I met you. I thought that this was more recent, but you're right. It's the dogs, man.
Could be.
Poor
it
Piper.
Happens. Okay, so let's see. What's something that totally imperfect about yourself that you have learned to love?
Oh my goodness. I wanted to ask you that question. I have you
ask
ask
me that?
Me.
Well, I can tell you what's...
something totally imperfect about myself. Like, that's actually not that healthy of a thing to be like, okay, this is not perfect. And this
I don't know what's in...
My body is far from perfect. Is your body perfect, Todd?
No, not anymore. It was.
It was?
But I like to eat now, so it went away.
I know. I love looking back on those pictures of you when you were in your 20s and used to walk around with your shirt unbuttoned.
Yeah, I'm not doing that now. Now I'll be standing there going, hey, hey, hey. No. Let's see. I think that my feet are perfect. No, they're not.
Oh, my feet are perfect.
Your feet are nice. They're ski boats, but they're beautiful.
They are really big.
But they're beautiful.
Yeah, I like my feet.
Let's see. I don't know how I would answer that question.
Yeah, that's tough, isn't it? Because it requires you to have really focus on your imperfection. I think there's a time in my life when I could have listed some things off for you, but I've worked to try to get beyond that.
Yeah, I don't really care anymore. I just want to live a nice, healthy, emotional, healthy life. That's what I'm trying to do.
Emotionally healthy life. I like that. Yes. Yeah, that's what I want to. I also really like being healthy. I like eating healthy.
I don't.
Yeah, I thought you did.
No, I did, but not anymore.
Didn't
after the
last
kids
long.
drive me crazy, I'm ready to eat something sweet or something fun.
It's true.
To emotionally make you feel better. And
it
does.
Food really is a pleasure.
It is.
There is pleasure to be taken in eating, and it's
like a good steak that's that's tender and seasoned right. Delicious.
For me, it's chocolate. That's the one I'm still able to have. I think I could not have been as restrictive with myself with my health situation unless I had the allergies I have. because they kind of forced me to be more healthy. And so then it was like, well, just lean into this and enjoy the healthy aspect of it.
You can't think about wanting a donut and go out and get a donut.
I know, I can't.
But I can.
I love donuts, man. I just wish I could go to a Krispy Kreme and take them a bag of like the French flour and just say, please make me a batch.
They'd be like, we don't do that here. Sorry, we have our special batch.
I really wish Krispy Kreme would do that. I miss donuts so much. Because I can eat the flour when I go to like France and Europe. But they don't make donuts like we make them here.
No, they don't. Because you know why?
Why?
They don't make, I'm not going to say it, they don't make fat American donuts. They make European thin things.
I don't know. They have plenty of really good things. So I'm not dissing on it. I'm hoping we're going to go to Europe this year so I can have some of their delicious breads and pastries. But why do you think we idolize perfection so much?
Well, I think because it's special. If things are perfect or can be perfect, we idolize. Well, I just think that people idolize perfection, thinking they are perfect, and they're not, and then they're not.
Right, like maybe growing up, we're tricked into thinking that somebody out there is perfect.
Yes.
Right? Like kind of like what I was saying about the kids, where it's like, hey, just so you know, like it's not a matter of if I make this choice and this choice and this choice and this choice all correctly, then ta-da, my life is going to roll out and be perfect. That's not how it works.
Nope, that's not
but
how
I
it works.
do think we might think that as kids growing up. Do you feel like you did?
Yes, we do think a lot of things as kids.
Yeah. And where does that come from? Like in our culture, this idea of idolizing perfection.
Well, I think the reality is everybody wants to be perfect. And that's the thing, because it's a good thing if you are perfect, but no one is. And then sometimes people, they can't handle realizing they're not.
Do you know, I was told, so here in Arizona, we have a lot of like the Indian population, Indian reservations. And I had a friend of mine who worked with the tribal, I think they're insurance or something like that, but she was very involved in the tribal communities, and she told me that I can't remember which tribe it was, but she cross-stitched, and she did a beautiful job of cross-stitching. But she was explaining to me, she'd given me a gift that she had cross-stitched, and she was showing me there was a flaw with it. And she said that flaw was, I guess if it's intentional, is it technically even still a flaw? But the idea being that within this tribal culture, you weren't supposed to do anything perfect. That you were supposed to build in space for a flaw. You were supposed to make a mistake in everything that you created, because it was somehow wrong to aspire to be perfect. That was left.
Okay, well, think about this. If you have a coin that has an imperfection in it, it's worth more money than a coin that doesn't have it.
That's true.
If you have a dollar bill that has an imperfection, it's worth more money. So think about that. But if you have a car that has an imperfection in it, you better get some of your money back.
And by the dollar, you don't just mean the one that's been worn out, but you mean like when they printed it wrong.
Yes, when they printed it wrong, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's so, I haven't thought about it like that. That's really interesting. That the imperfections can make you worth more. Yep. I think that's true for people too.
Yeah.
Because it's from our mistakes we learn so much.
Yep.
They change us and shape us. So, can you think of any life hacks?
Any life hacks?
Embracing imperfection.
No,
anything you learned?
Anything that I learned? Well, I know that I have lots of imperfections, but I'm okay with that today.
So just being okay with it.
Yeah.
You know what? Okay, so when I was kind of going through my recovery into being a recovering perfectionist instead of a perfectionist, I felt like somebody told me about like the 80-20 philosophy. Have you heard of this? It's that you can put in, if you go like, I always get it mixed up. It's something like if you put in 80% of the effort, like people won't notice that last 20% to get to 100% perfect, right? So if you can do an 80% job on something, that's good enough. And to me, especially like think about like our school grades, right? Like we're trying to encourage our kids to get these A's. They want to get 100% on a test. So growing up with that and then turning loose into like the workplace and work goals and feeling like it's okay, just give 80%. Like, but my business partner had mentioned that to me. She said, we had this was at 80% good like 5 hours ago. if we had just left it there, it was good enough. We keep burning this time to try to get to that perfect. And it's really, what value are we really adding?
Time, yes.
Yeah. And it took a lot of, deprogramming to come from that, hey, I want to get 100% on my tests, to I want to, 80% is good enough. Did you know in college I actually got 100% in a class for the semester? It was American Heritage class. And at the end,
you tortured yourself to get it.
I actually really loved the class. It was a combination of the class was really interesting and I loved it, and the way that the professor did it, like it literally was like if you read the chapter and studied it, like the notes that you took in class, the questions on the test were like word for word, like from that. But at the end of the class, he called me in to see. He wanted to meet me because it was one of those big, huge lecture classes. There was like 400 kids in the class. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the term, he was like, who is this person who got 100% on every single test and has literally gotten 100%? I think there was only tests. That was it, right? Quizzes and tests. And I'd gotten 100% on everything. So I literally had 100% in the class. And he wanted to meet me to see if I was cheating.
Did you date him?
No, he was an old man. Why did you take that attack so personally, Todd? Are you
an old man?
This was when I was like a kid. I was like 18 or 19. It was my freshman year of college. And yes, I got 100% in the class.
Well, there you go. That's a good thing. It's a good thing.
That totally fed my perfectionism a little bit.
I'm sure it did.
Anyway, he was satisfied I wasn't cheating.
Well, that's good.
But he said I was the only person to have ever done that in his class.
Well, that's a thing that you probably can do every single time. I'm sure you've been the first to do a lot of things in your class, in your age.
No, I don't know about that.
Yep,
I don't know about that, but it was pretty satisfying.
Good.
I ended up getting a scholarship.
Did you really?
Yeah. I think he endorsed me. I got a scholarship because the school I was at was a junior college. It was Rick's College up in Idaho. It's now called BYU Idaho, but it was Rick's College when I went to it. And I think in large part based on that, I was given a scholarship to go to BYU for my junior and senior year because it was only 2 years there.
Nice.
Anyway, no wonder it took me so long to get to accepting 80% as good enough. But that's definitely, I think, help. Like if you are one of those people that is struggling to not be perfect, I want you to think about, like, once you reach like an acceptable point, look at how much more effort, how much more time, and say, like, is this worth it? It took me years. It was not like I learned that and then suddenly, I think it was at least 5 years before I was able to start embracing that idea of like, okay, you know what, this is good enough.
Well,
good enough is your best friend.
And guess what? And that's how we end on, it's good enough to be your best friend. So dang. This podcast is produced by my wife, Betty Jo Bridges, in collaboration with Pop Populi, and edited by our daughter, Adelie Ann.
She is also the musician responsible for our theme music, so go check out Adelie Ann wherever you stream your music. Have a question or topic you want us to cover? Send us your suggestions at dangpodcast.com.
If you would do me a quick favor, please subscribe or rate our podcast to make it easier for others to find. Have a great week.
I'm running on nothing but faith. This thing's far too great that I want to